Say hi. Just tell me when you guys are ready. Good, good. All right. I'm just going to update you on some information from the incidents from last night on Market Street. So around 6 p.m., officers in the 6th District and our Center City District saw an influx or an increased amount of juveniles on Market Street East. But we usually have juveniles there. We have malls. There's a movie theater. There's an And One store, which is kind of like a Dave & Buster's. So we usually have juveniles in and on and in the stores on Market Street. But there was a little bit more than usual. Around 7 p.m., we had an individual, a 13-year-old male, that was seen with a gun. Officers gave chase to that male, and that male was stopped. That 13-year-old was stopped. It happened to be an airsoft gun, but I'll show you a picture of what this airsoft gun looks like. That's what he was carrying. A 13-year-old boy was carrying that. Officers had to chase him down, and he was arrested. After that incident around 7:30, we're seeing more and more kids come to between the 900 block and the 1100 block of Market Street. We're up to about 350, 400 kids. These kids were not orderly. They were not going to the mall. They were not going to the movie theater, and they were not there to enjoy their friends and get phone numbers and get food and things of that kind of thing. Officers called and supervisor called more support, and we start asking the juveniles to leave the area. We call it a push. We want them basically to get back on SEPTA and go back home. All the kids that were arrested, and there were 5 complete, none of them were from the Center City area, all throughout the city. It took until about 9 o'clock to get the juveniles off of Market Street and back home. Why I'm saying this, and during that, we had to lock up 4 individuals for disorderly conduct. And they are in the age range, excuse me, we have a 13-year-old male, a 15-year-old male, a 13-year-old female, and a 17-year-old male. In particular, the 13-year-old female was in the rear of a police car, and the officer was preparing the paperwork for disorderly conduct arrest. During that arrest, one of her friends tried to release her from the rear of the police vehicle. That officer got in foot pursuit of that individual, and during the foot pursuit, he blew out his knee. That officer is going to be out of work for 8 months to a year because he has to get a full knee reconstruction because he was chasing a juvenile. Our belief is these juveniles were not down here to go to the movies or go to the mall and have fun. They were here to be disorderly, and we have to handle that as we see it. We had 4 arrests. There was also one more arrest of an individual that fit a very distinct description of a robbery that happened at 2nd and Chestnut the night before. This was Tuesday night. He was brought into for an investigation, and a warrant is pending for his arrest. So we had a total of 4 arrests, 1 person brought in for a probable robbery that will come down the road. But this is a parental issue. Going to my notes, we have 170 rec centers in the city. We have 26 PAL centers in the city, and we have numerous sports leagues and church groups throughout the city. This is what the kids should be doing. This is a parental issue. This is not a police issue. This is not a city issue. The parents should be watching their kids, what they're doing. There's no reason that a 13-year-old boy should be carrying this downtown. This was a fake gun. This was an air gun. I'll get the exact term of it, an airsoft gun. Unfortunately, we have people in the city that carry real guns. And if, yep. And if you would point this at someone that's carrying a real gun, we know what would happen. A 13-year-old was carrying that. I'm sorry. And that is a problem. I'm open for any questions.
How do you even go about knowing this could happen again? Like, can you even prepare for something like this? Because last night I saw there was a lot of officers.
Yep. And we had to call more officers in. So what happens when we have an issue like this, we have a significant amount of officers in Center City. But when something like this happens out of ordinary, I have to pull officers from South Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, North Philadelphia to help. So that draws that police presence, and the service that we give to other neighborhoods gets drawn out because we have to handle this problem here. It wasn't like 30, 40 kids. We're looking at 350 to 400 kids were here, up to no good. One second.
Earlier reports indicated that kids were throwing rocks, jumping on police cars, climbing street poles, but didn't mention any of that in what you just said. So I'm just curious how much of that is true and where that information came from.
It's all true.
All true?
All true.
Okay.
So they were disorderly. And I don't want the mixed words. These kids weren't down here to have fun. Like, we're all teenagers. We want to have fun. It wasn't that. They were being disorderly, and that's why 4 were arrested. And if we could have locked up more, we would have.
So we've also heard reports that the kids were given issued citations versus being arrested. Those are different connotations. What is it?
They were arrested and given a summary citation.
Okay.
It depends on the gradation of the summary. It could be a summary citation, or it could be an M3, which is it's to a higher level.
Okay. And my final question to
Sure.
clarify: I've heard ankle versus knee injury for the police officer.
It was knee injury. I visited him in Jefferson Hospital. It's a knee injury.
Thank
Yes.
So obviously we have seen, this is not new, we have seen crowds of young people, in particular in the Fashion District area before. But have we seen this many? 400 of them.
Yeah, not in some time. If you go back, I did some research back in 2011 during the Nutter administration. We had the flash mob issues, things of that nature, and we curtailed that with curfews. But if you look at our curfew hours, if you're 14 and above, it's 10 p.m. 13 and below is 9:30. Obviously, this happened out of curfew. Our ask is for City Council, the mayor's office, for certain areas of the city, not just Center City, there's other areas that have juvenile issues, is to make a special curfew for special areas that have special problems.
Do you think social media was probably a factor in gathering? Because how do you get 400 kids at the same time, same place?
Correct. The issue there is, I'm not big on social media, but these kids have different apps that we're just not grabbing yet. To gather 400 people, 350 people, it takes a lot of effort through social media, and we're still working that. Our Intel Bureau is looking into that. You know, we're doing our things. Coordination with SEPTA is important also, because they are using SEPTA to get from point A to point B.
There were crowds gathered the night before, though, but I'm guessing it was not to this
It wasn't to this extent. We know that it draws because it's stuff for kids to do. There's a movie theater, there's a mall, buy sneakers, things of that nature. There's things to do down there, and we expect kids to be there, but not to this extent and not with this behavior. And it is something that the police department will not tolerate this behavior.
Potential charges that, there's a lot of this on video, right? It's
Sure.
being recorded. So obviously you've seen that there's an investigation underway. Is there any more charges, other individuals?
Sure. I mean,
What's the message to them and their parents?
there's things for terroristic threat, riot. You know, all you need is 3 or more people acting in concord to do something. So it could be a riot charge.
So what's, I guess, your message to parents and the teens who are out there about, what could potentially happen to them if they're caught, or people in the future who plan on coming down and doing the same thing?
I don't like to use the word zero tolerance, because we do have tolerance for juveniles. We do, because we don't want them to get into the system. But acts like last night, we're going to have very, very little tolerance if your kids come to Center City and act a fool. You will be arrested, and we'll make sure that you go in front of juvenile judges to make sure you get the proper treatment that you need. This is not a playground. We want people to come down and have a good time. Center City is not a playground for juveniles. And if it's something that City Council and the Mayor's office has to make special curfews for special areas, then so be it.
What are you, I know a lot of the students are on
Sorry.
spring break. Oh, go ahead. A lot of the students are on spring break.
Sure.
Anything you're doing tonight, like making sure this doesn't happen again? Like,
It won't happen again tonight.
What'd you say?
We'll be out there tonight. Yes, we're out there every night. But something like this, when we go from a 40 to 50 kids, which we know is going to be down there, to 350 to 400, that is when we have to bring extra people in, and that draws services from other parts of the city.
I don't need
It's one more second.
How do you get ahead of that?
One is we coordinate with SEPTA. They're not being dropped off by their parents. We know that. They're utilizing SEPTA, and they're not using a trans pass. They're jumping the turnstile. And that's something SEPTA is working on. They're doing different mechanical things they can in reference to turnstile jumping. They're using SEPTA, so we're coordinating with SEPTA to use Incel when groups of kids are coming through. Social media is figure out what things they're using on social media to look into that to see when they're coming. But there's other positive things to do in the city. We got 200 PAL centers and rec centers. tons of church groups and sports that these kids should be involved with. But again, this is not our problem. This is the parents' problem, and we're going to make it their problem very, very quickly. Is because when their kids get locked up, they're going to have to show up with their kids. This is a parental problem.
I don't mean to believe it before,
Sure.
but police reports have said there have been no property damage. So would you guys be open to releasing any of the footage of the rock throwing, the police car jumping, all of that?
I will have to look at the body cam. I didn't look at everything. I looked at some this morning. If there is something that's juicy, I will make sure you get it.
Or even the police squad camera, car camera.
But we all have body cam. We don't have cameras in the cars.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So will there be extra patrols though?
I'm sorry?
Will there be extra patrols?
Oh yes. We're gearing up right now, and we gear up every day. On the weekends, we have extra down there because one of the other issues why kids come down, it's safe. It's safe for them to kind of go to the movie theater because there is police down there. Their parents feel, hey, it's safe because we know cops are on Market Street. But when you go from 30 to 40 to 400 and they start acting a fool, that's when we have our issues, and we're going to act accordingly.
So could more charges be filed at this point?
Good question. We are looking into that.
Have the DA's office, have they been cooperative in enforcing?
And this they are. I know we have issues with Krasser once in a while, but this is something that he understands that kids will be kids, but this is beyond that.
Do you happen to know if a fight at the front of the mall precipitated all of the crowds gathering?
That I don't know.
You don't know?
It's possible, but I don't know that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, in general, what are the dangers of large groups of kids gathering in a disorganized way?
I mean, one danger is you're going to get locked up. I mean, you're acting the fool, you're going to get locked up. Other dangers are, this kid had this gun. It was a fake gun. But we know there's a lot of juveniles that have real guns. If you pull a fake gun and someone has a real gun, you're going to lose that battle real quick.
I do hope you really...
And the thing with this 13-year-old, it goes to a very prestigious charter school, which is maybe 3 blocks from here. A really, really good school.
Would you feel comfortable releasing the name of that school?
No.
Okay.
Very close. That way.
Could we just say objects for going to police?
Excuse me?
Could we just say objects for going? What should we say?
Rocks.
Rocks. So
Yep.
we're trying to say rocks for going.
Oh, yeah. Rocks.
All right, just making sure.
Very easy.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Maybe do that on the photo.
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, sure. It's 4. This is including this one, and the 5th one was an arrest, but there wasn't enough for. We believe he was connected with a robbery a day before. He was released pending further investigation.
The robbery has nothing to do with the crowd.
No, this was something that happened at 11 o'clock Tuesday evening, 2nd and Chestnut.
Okay, was the robbery suspect wasn't at the whatever?
Yes, he was.
He was.
We saw him in the crowd,
Okay.
and we knew what he looked like.
Okay, so you arrested him at the thing.
Yes.
A robbery that happened